Hola
Uno, dos,
amigos, bien.
tres.
Una, dos, tres. Hola amigos, bienvenidos a Conversaciones de Altura. Esta es edición aniversario y no puedo tener a otra persona como a la que tengo enfrente de mí, alguien que he conocido desde que vivía en Toronto y hasta ahorita se dio la oportunidad de hablar con él. Ben, thank you so much. Welcome to the show. I really appreciate, man. I promise I wasn't talking shit. I was giving you a little intro for a speaking or Mexican fans or listeners rather.
Sí, güey. Sí, güey. I understood a little bit of it. I'm in school here to learn Spanish, but like it's still pretty bad. I'm
did,
still
did you take lessons before moving to Mexico?
No, I came after a year of the pandemic in America. I was just like, what's a productive move to make here? And I just thought simply like going to study Spanish in Mexico would be a blessed move. So no, I'd never studied. I haven't studied anything since music or like high school, which I dropped out of. So it's been
Right.
cool.
That's
It's
awesome.
been
And
cool.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
always good to go back to learning something, right? The idea of this sounds cliche, but I agree with it 100%. The idea of always staying as a student, right? And I bet that you have lived that even in the music industry, right? Like always trying to learn and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a lot of mixing out here for other artists and stuff like that, and yeah, I'm learning every day still with music. And yeah, I haven't really. I mean, I've been doing music every single day for like I don't know how long, 25 years or something. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just like do something that's also musical, another language and Spanish. I've traveled so much that I just feel it's time to like learn, not be such a gringo.
Yeah, man. And you know what? We appreciate when gringos. For me, it's not about work. So if I say gringo again, don't take it the wrong way. For me, it's
Yeah,
not.
I learned in school that it's not a bad word.
No, it's not. I mean, I think that's just something that I guess TV and media try to make it a thing. But no, gringo is just like a way of saying, oh, instead of saying American or European, we say gringo, and we understand. It's kind of like silly way. But
Bum ass
anyway,
white guy.
yeah, exactly. Like a funny way of saying white guy. There you go.
Yeah, silly white dude.
Yeah, I mean, we're silly, right? I love
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
man.
for sure, for sure, for sure.
So, yeah, I was gonna ask you because I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff we have to talk about, and before we started recording, we said that we're gonna tell, or you're gonna tell rather, as a New Mexico story. But before we get into that, I'm really curious about how you got into like the New York scene in Toronto. First of all, were you born in Toronto?
Mhm.
Okay.
I was born in Toronto, but I went back and forth between there and the UK when my parents were splitting up and stuff. And my entire family's from the UK,
Oh,
so
okay.
we were back and forth a little bit. But then my mom eventually was like, "I think it's better to raise the boys in Toronto."
How
So
interesting.
yeah, born and raised.
And how was your approach in the hardcore scene? Because I'm really curious about that. I grew up in Mexico City, so Mexico City is very different to Toronto as you have
Mhm.
experienced it. So I'm always curious about knowing how, in my case, because it's something that I'm close, it's close to my heart, like the hardcore music. How was it in Toronto? How were the shows? I'm super interested. If you can tell us a little bit about it.
When I was like first getting into it and starting No Warning and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, just getting into like the scene, like going to shows where these like house shows or
Mhm. They were like the majority of shows I went to when I first started going to shows in Toronto were is like an anarchist collective bookstore, which is now a guitar shop called Paul's Boutique.
oh,
Uh,
okay. Yeah, I know
yeah,
what you're
yeah,
talking about. Yeah.
yeah. But Mike and Ryan, Mike from Fucked Up, and Ryan who plays in No Warning. They would put on shows there, and a few other people would put on shows there. So it was kind of like this like DIY space that everyone would go to, and that was where I started to see the majority of like the local stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, a lot of it was extremely like small. There was barely any internet. You'd have like a website, angelfire.com website for all those people who may remember that.
I do actually.
Yeah. We had angelfire.com/AWOW, which was our first band as we went to work. So we, I don't know, we were like a few kind of like, troubled, shitty youngsters from the East End of Toronto, and we kind of banded together and started to go downtown to these shows, and quickly was just like, this isn't really like musically what we're into, but it's like a cool place to hang out, and a cool place to be, and a cool thing to be a part of. So like quickly, we started to have, like, as a collective, kind of started to have like a vision of maybe what kind of hardcore we would want to like contribute or whatever. And it happened to be, first off, it was like kind of more positive, like youth crew, youth of the day type stuff. But
straight edge.
Yeah, like straight edge shit. And like, but being a young kid, 6 months later you're into something else. So 6 months later we were into like harder New York stuff, and Matt from the band was really, he was waving the flag of New York hardcore and stuff, and we were all getting into stuff together. And then we kind of just like, by our second demo, we had changed our sound, and like no one really liked it in Toronto until people started liking that music,
right?
Which didn't happen for years. We were kind of like not really taken seriously, and also like we had some large chips on our shoulders as youngsters as well. Okay. So we'd walk into the shows like we were badass, like didn't give a fuck about anything type, angsty kids, and like
I feel
that kind of didn't really give us the best reputation in Toronto, but we grew up eventually, but it took a while.
Wow. So is that why you think it took you a while to become more into the hardcore scene as No Warning? Because I had the idea that it might have been of the sound, because your sound is like very unique, right? And sometimes when you're a little bit ahead of your time, sometimes that doesn't fit into a scene, and especially a hardcore scene. And I say this with all due respect, but the hardcore scene can be, at least in Mexico, it can be very, how can I say this, narrow, right?
Narrow-minded.
Narrow-minded.
No, for sure. It took like, it took 5 years for our Ill Blood album to, like, when it first came out, everyone hated it. Everyone called it new metal and stuff, and kind of like it bummed us out pretty hard. That's why we kind of just like jumped ship and like made an actual new metal record, and like shit like that. And but yeah, I mean, sometimes it takes time if you're a little ahead of the curve. We were a little ahead of the curve in terms of like, being a band from Toronto and doing that sound. Similar to like Fucked Up, like no one really in Toronto really cared about Fucked Up until they started to like pop off a little bit in the US and the UK before I was in the band. But it's just like the nature of how things marinate, I guess, and resonate. Sometimes it takes a while.
Right, especially I think when you're younger, you always, or at least in my case, I always try to be different, right? I don't know if you felt that, like, okay, yeah, we're in this scene, and I felt that in all hardcore shows, and I probably get some heat from the hardcore people in Mexico, but you would go to a show and all 5 bands would sound the same,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can go to any kind of show and everything sounds the same. There was a lot of like, there was some variation in Toronto. It just didn't happen to be what we were into. It was like technical kind of like metal stuff and like spazzy shit and like, some power violence, some like decent like emo songwriting and stuff like that. And like, we were just kind of like the, we were outcasts, I guess, but that was like to our own doing as well. But we were proud of it. We wore it on like our sleeve, like, yeah, no one gives a shit. We're going to fuck this place. We're going to go play in America, and like, we're going to show them. And that's what we did, I guess.
Yeah, for sure, man. Then I was reading like the bio, and then you signed to like major label and you went and toured the whole world. Did you ever feel any, I guess no, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Did you ever feel that punk guilt? You know what I mean? Like, okay, oh, these guys are selling out because they signed to a major label, and I don't like it, but I would like to hear your opinion on that.
I don't think we ever felt any guilt because we were like, we were pretty wild. We were a little too wild to feel guilty about anything at the time. Definitely sometimes felt a little like, maybe it was guilt or like, I don't think it was guilt or shame, but it was more like we were less confident. Like we lost confidence a little bit because we kind of like, we stepped out of our like, you know, our where we came from, which was like punk and hardcore. And we kind of like, you know, we would play in front of these crowds but we were able to like, you know, rock kind of a standard rock and roll crowd pretty easily. Like it doesn't take much. You know, but like if we were to go back and play a small bar and it would be like, you know, some hardcore people in there, you would see them being like, you know how hardcore people are, they're just, when they don't like something, they're just like this.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So there's a lot of that. And like, if anything, it kind of gave us the steam to just be like, fuck these people, man. Like, this is lame, dude. Like, this isn't like, you know, people like take it so seriously and shit. And like, that's not, we've always listened to other types of music. We've always loved like pop stuff and pop punk and growing up and shit like that. Or like, you know, and fuck it. We just did whatever we wanted, but you know, maybe we took some, maybe we made some poor business decisions, but you know, that's to be expected.
Right. But at the end of the day, you did whatever you wanted to do, right? Sorry, I'm mumbling on my words, but you, at the end of the day, you did whatever you wanted to do, right?
Yes.
And and there's freedom in that, right? Or is there anything, I guess, you regret of signing to a major label, maybe?
I mean, I don't think I would ever do it again, but I don't regret it. And it was just like a learning experience. And we were kind of like, you know, we hit the last wave of like, you know, major labels signing bands for like, you know, a lot of money. And I mean, I think they've started to do it again now a little bit with a bunch of shit, but I don't think it's regret. It's more just like, that was kind of dumb. You know, but it was like everything happened and, you know, it's kind of, I don't really consider things like regretful.
Right. So at the end of the day, it's like a big learning experience, right? Maybe business wise, or maybe even artistic wise, right? Like maybe, okay, we're not gonna record this type of music, or maybe we're gonna go into some other direction. That I think you did with the last album, right? Like torture culture. You went back to your roots, right?
Yeah, we kind of mixed it up a bit, I guess. We just wanted to do a record of where we're at that, you know, I think it was like 5 years ago now. Yeah, we just wanted to kind of make maybe make the record that we would have made after Ill Blood if we weren't kind of like, you know, kind of blinded by some stuff that we were blinded by when we were getting signed to a major label as youngsters and shit.
Yeah, for sure, man. So now let's talk with the hardcore talk. I want to get into your recent stuff, Young Guv, because I find it really cool that it sounds completely different to what you've been doing with Fucked Up and with No Warning. So when you started making music, were you already playing with this type of music, were like more popular stuff, even though you were doing maybe like going to hardcore shows and a heavier music?
When you say more popular stuff, what do you mean?
Well, yeah, I guess I'm not explaining
like poppy. You mean poppy?
Yeah, poppies. Yeah, not popular as in the literal. Yeah, or more melodic. I guess that's a better way.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we were going to hardcore shows even like as like when I first was getting into music, it was like Nirvana, Green Day, like, you know, Oasis, the Ramones, and then, you know, then getting into like Lookout Records, Screeching Weasel, stuff like that. And like, so I was always listening to stuff like that and getting into like, you know, British rock and roll and like, you know, indie rock in Canada and stuff like that. So I was always kind of had my like ears on everything. It just happened, hardcore happened to be what we were like, you know, something that we were like a part of, you know, something that we could actually, you know, it was like a community for us. So, and No Warning happened to have some people start to like it. So it's kind of like what we were known for. But yeah, all of us have been, we're musicians, so we do a lot of different things. And yeah, when I joined Fucked Up, I just started practicing recording at home, and that's what kind of spawned the Young Guv project, which is, I guess I've been doing it for a while now, but I only started to take it kind of like a bit more seriously, like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago.
Right. And that's when you started touring, right?
Yeah.
What came first, like the idea of, okay, I'm going to do this solo thing now because that's something I want to do? Or did you start touring and then you were like, okay, this is something that I want to do longer, like keep touring and keep recording, and maybe not that you didn't take it seriously, but more as a thing that you wanted to do more and more and more each time?
Yeah, I mean, I already knew that I've been touring so much with Fucked Up in my life and No Warning that I'd already knew that I know how to tour and I can do it and not go insane usually.
Right.
So I don't know. I kind of just wanted to shift my life a little bit and kind of reinvent things a little bit for myself. So I was actually helping Terror on their on the 20, I think it was the 25th hour. No, it was Total Retaliation.
Okay.
Is that what it's called? Total Retaliation. I forget.
You were producing it, right?
Yeah, I was like helping with the vocals and stuff like that. Me and Scott were helping each other out. But then I moved to Brooklyn after that because we were doing the job in New Jersey, and I was like, man, I'm close enough to Brooklyn. Might as well go spend the summer there and just see what it's all about. Because I'd played in New York a shitload of times in my life, but I'd always been like, I'm not sure I like it. It's so big and crazy, and like I don't really get it. Like, why do people like this place? So I was like, let's give it a shot. And then I moved there, and then that summer I started writing. I didn't really know, I guess it was for Young Guv, but I was just like writing, and like finally had got out of my like Toronto kind of like samey routine and shit. And it kind of just like changed everything, I guess. And I just never really left New York from then. And then I approached Run for Cover with my songs, and I was like, hey, my name is Ben, and Jeff from the label happened to be in town that night for an Angel Dust show. He invited me to the show, and then we went out for drinks, and then he's like, yeah, I want to put out the record. And then I was like, okay, well, shit. Like I have a lot of songs, probably a double record. I'm like, I have like a cool label behind it. I might as well like put a band together. And there's a few of us involved in the Young Guv project who are living in New York anyway. So it kind of just happened, like stars aligned for it a little bit, but it was definitely like, I don't know, it was like an incredibly valuable, amazing time of my life. And then I kind of just got a tour offer, and I was like, well, I got to do this. I have records coming out. And then when I went out with those guys and that band, that's when I was like, whoa, this is actually really fulfilling and really refreshing. You know, because I've been doing my other touring gigs and stuff for quite a long time, and you know, something fresh felt really nice.
No, for sure, man. And even the music. I mean, it's obvious that it's different from what you used to play live, no? Like the hardcore kids and everything. And now it's a completely different crowd. But I want to go back and talk a little bit about New York. What was it that you said, okay, well, I'm here now, I'm gonna stay, even though for me it's a difficult city. I don't think I could live in New York, man.
Really, you live in Mexico City, bro.
Yeah, I know, but New York is, I don't know, I kind of have the feeling that you are on top of each other all the time. Like there's no resting. Like here in Mexico City, you can go and Insurgentes, you can walk, and there's some rest somehow, but New York City is like boom, 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 boom all the time.
Yeah, it's definitely you're definitely close to everyone, but I kind of like that because like I like to spend a lot of time on my own, like, you know, sometimes for like a week or two, you know, just not seeing many people at all. But like to me, the closeness of New York, it kind of keeps you company. So it's like this, like, I don't know, it's just like this collective soul to it. Yeah, collective soul. That's a great band, man. Yeah, no, there is a collective soul to New York for sure. Yeah, I guess that's it. Really, like, I don't know. It just resonated with me. Like, I'm a friendly person. I like to, like, if I see someone on the street and I like their shoes or something, I'm gonna say, "Hey, dude, like, nice shoes, man." And like in Toronto, you say that to someone, they're gonna be like,
right. I'm
they're gonna be
glad.
like, "What the fuck?" And then but that never stopped me from doing it. But it didn't make me hate Toronto. But when I got to New York and somebody, like, you know, complimented me or something, you know, just simple things like that, simple, like, you know, it's all love, you know what I mean there. And it's like, doesn't matter who you are and shit. And it's just like,
Wow,
yeah,
fascinating.
there was small little things that just like, I really like, you know, taking the train there and just watching the people and stuff like that. I like people. I like watching them. I like seeing how people interact. I like it all. I love
Right.
that. It just was inspiring to me on like a human level, you know, to see everything kind of working together in, like you said, it's very hectic. And like when I didn't live there, I didn't like the city. I was like, this is too much for me. I fucking hate it. Everyone's off getting records and bagels and this and that, and then
Right.
you get the traffic and shit like that. So we're like, I was just like, nah, fuck this place. And like, but yeah, it changed my life. And I will say that if anyone's ever thinking to just like start fresh or move somewhere and just try it and just like try and start over a little bit, especially now, I mean, you know, if you have the means to do so, just do it. Just try it. Like,
Wow.
it's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing. And like, I don't know, it was great for me. And maybe it'd be shit for other people, but I don't know.
Right. No, I mean, it's interesting because I think, and let me know if I'm correct. When I was in Toronto, I kind of felt the same thing, like, because I'm more on the introverted side of the spectrum, I guess. So I like to, like you, I spend a lot of time by myself. And when I was in Toronto, I knew that I could be by myself, but if I wanted to go out and have some sort of human interaction, I could go and walk and be surrounded by people, right? And then if I wanted to do and assist the show, I knew I could do that. But also I knew that I could stay at my place and be awesome, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why I can't move to New York, man. It's too much for me, I guess.
I
I don't.
mean, maybe one day you'll have to go there for some reason, and it'll, you
Right.
know, after, I don't know how long you've stayed in New York for, but maybe, you know, after 2 months, if you're in New York for 2 3 months and you still hate it, maybe it's not for you. But I would suggest, it's kind of like, that's how I've traveled a lot and I've lived in a few different places, and like I always give myself like enough time to really vibe, not just like a week or some shit. You get yourself into a routine, like, you know, simple things like, where am I going to buy food? You know, where's my grocery store? Where's this? Where's
Right.
that? And it's just like, just seeing some of, you know, friendly faces every day helps a lot.
No, for
And
sure.
New York has a lot of friendly faces. It's a friendly ass city.
Oh, wow, interesting. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think you're one of the few people I've heard that refer to New York as a friendly city.
I don't know. Maybe they didn't live there.
No, I like it.
I'm not a New York expert, but like I've lived there for 3 4 years, and like
Right.
from my perspective, it's an extremely friendly place. Like people are talking to you, people are chilling. I mean, it's also a crazy place. There's a lot of fucking like, I mean, there's crazy people everywhere, but like, I don't know. New York shines to me.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I'm not saying I'm not liking it. It's just that maybe now it's not the city for me. But I'm curious, were you going to like shows or how, what were you doing there to maybe being influenced by the city itself, you know?
Mm, I had a lot of friends there through like punk and hardcore and like kind of people who had like, you know, branched off from punk and hardcore and doing other interesting things. And like, um, I was going to some shows, nothing that I wouldn't have seen in Toronto. I don't know. I think it was just the soul of the city, really, that just kind of like that you fall in love with in general. Nothing super
Right.
specific. I like the people on the streets. I like, you know, the guy at the deli, you know, stuff like that. That's
For
what's like,
sure.
that's what's fun for me.
Interesting. And then from New York City, you went directly to New Mexico.
Well, I was on tour. I didn't. I accidentally moved to New Mexico. I was on tour with no warning in Europe. Finished the tour in Europe. Flew to New York. 3 days of band practice with Young Guv band. Onto a tour, 31 shows in a row in America with Young Guv. So it was like a pretty January and February of 2020 was quite busy for me, but you know, I was up for it, trying to make it happen. And you know, halfway through the tour on the Young Gov tour, which was going really well, and like we'd done a bunch of headlining shows, like all out to the West Coast, which originally I was kind of like not super stoked on because I was like, I don't think anyone's gonna come. Like, I'm not a headliner yet. Like, you know, like I'm going out to join this band White Reaper to open their tour and stuff. But you know, it actually, most of the shows were really well attended,
Oh, cool.
me, myself and the band were all like super stoked on it, and kind of gave us, every time we do something with Young Gov, it kind of gives us a bit more confidence to continue. So that was tight. But then, you know, COVID fucking struck, and we were in El Paso, Texas, and everything was getting canceled. And we'd been following it for a while on our phones in the van, and kind of like, that's all you can do in the van, obviously, right? Well, not really, but that's what we were doing. So we kind of anticipated it to hit New York super hard because of how New York is. And most of us were living in New York. So we were like, you know what? Like, I had a small sublet at the time, which was like really small. And I was like, I'm not going back to that spot and during a pandemic. I'm just not going to do it. So a few of us just like, we were literally like looking at the map and being like, trying to think like, where should we go?
Wow.
Right now, where we can go and chill and spend 2 months cheap, as like most of the band was going to do this. 2 guys were going home and our driver was going home.
Wow.
But three or four of us were trying to figure out a plan to like evade, you know, what was about to be a crazy lockdown for the country, and incredibly new, like, you know,
virus.
Yeah, and like, you know, we anticipating aggression and like, you know, all the stuff that happened. You know, it's easy to predict. You doesn't have to be a fucking scientist to predict it, obviously. So yeah, we just like chose Taos, New Mexico. My friend in the band at the time was like, "Why don't we go to Taos, dude?" And like, we were like, "What the fuck is that?" And like, we literally like Google image searched it, and we're like, "This looks tight." And we drove to Omaha, got his big van that he had there, and we just drove to Taos, New Mexico, made it work, and we lived in the mountains there. It's like a small little town there, like very artistic and very cool, just off the Rio Grande. It's incredibly beautiful, and we ended up living in a like a self-sustainable home called a Earthship. It's like a self-sustainable.
Yeah, for sure, man. Those are a friend of mine learned how to make one of those. I think they were invented by some guy from Argentina, if I'm not mistaken.
Possibly. I thought the inventor was from New Mexico. Maybe he stole it from a guy from Argentina.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but I know some guy from Argentina invented something similar to that, or something. Are these the ones that are made of tires and they put something inside there? Yeah, I think
tires and bottles and adobe clay.
yes, I think it
I'm sure there's different variations of the eco homes like that. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe he did. But yeah, so we ended up living for the majority of it in this Earthship,
no shit.
which was beautiful, like amazing.
Wow.
Like, it was on the like Mesa Desert, right by the Rio Grande. And yeah, my room like was like how the Earthship is built, like, the windows are all angled so you can actually see the sky. So it was literally,
Wow.
yeah, like my window at night looked like, going to like the science center,
Yeah,
where you go to
yeah,
like the like thing where it shows you the stars, whatever you call that shit.
yeah. Wow. I
And
love it, man.
it was insane. Like looking back on it, I was like, did that happen to me? Like, because it was, we also had a real pyramid on our land, built by the guy who built all the Earthships, because, in the 80s, God knows what he was doing, but he was like, I'm going to build a pyramid and import like all the stuff from Egypt. And like, so we had a real to spec massive pyramid, which was used for various things like heroin use, not for us, but like, like,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
and like, people would be meditating in there, like, it was open to the public, but it was actually on our property.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I filmed a video with it, but yeah, it was just like the most surreal, beautiful, incredible, magical place,
Wow.
full of like, kind of like, you know, quirky, weird, small town people who would like, either escaped something, or,
I know.
you know, you had your gentrifiers from California coming through who were like buying up the place, obviously. So there's like some tension like that, which was interesting for us. We were just kind of like the Canadians, so
For
we were
sure,
just out there and writing music, and then ended up leaving because I didn't want to spend winter in the mountains. I don't like winter.
man.
Um,
Right.
and then we moved to LA for 4 months, and I made a record there. I made a
Okay,
few records there.
but before we talk about LA, I want to talk a little bit more about New Mexico, because I've been lucky enough to travel around there, and I think it's a weird, fascinating place. Somehow there's a lot of art, but I can't stop thinking about you deciding, okay, this is my home now. Were you worried about your stuff in New York? Like, okay, I have all my stuff there in New York City, or like moving into New Mexico, where you're like, fuck it.
So you've been to New Mexico? That's what you
Yes,
said.
I've been in New Mexico. Yeah, I used to tour with
Nice.
Helmet as their merch guy,
Oh shit, sick.
and we play a few times in New Mexico, and I think we stay somewhere in New Mexico.
Yeah, like Santa Fe, Albuquerque, and shit
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. And we had a show at the hotel where Dillinger was captured or something, or there was a shooting
Okay.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh
sounds
no, that was
familiar.
in Arizona, or New Mexico. Sorry, I don't know. But yeah, New Mexico is weird, man.
Yeah, some weird fuckers for sure. People who are like, come on my property, we're gonna shoot your ass, type shit like that. But it's I'd played Albuquerque with fucked up, and like Tempe and Phoenix with no warning and shit, but I'd never experienced the beauty of New Mexico. Like America, a lot of it is a shithole, but a lot of it is incredibly beautiful land, which I really hope can stick
Right.
around. I'm sure it will. I'm sure humans will die first. What was the question? Sorry, I just hit the
No,
fucking
that's no,
John.
no worries. I couldn't stop thinking about you moving just out of the blue
Oh yeah, yeah.
into
So
like New Mexico, and like your stuff in New York. What?
So Noah, the one of the member of Young Guv band, Noah, who had moved to Taos with me, we drove from Taos to New York to get our shit and move out of New York, and then we drove back to New Mexico.
Mm,
At the height of the pandemic in America, in that summer, and also it was at the height of the Black Lives Matter protesting and all the riots that were going on. So we were kind of driving through it, you know, and it was incredibly surreal. Like, you know, I remember one night the hotels were closed. So we were using an app called Hip Camp, which is like Airbnb for like people's land.
You mean like, okay, I can go as like a band camp or something?
Band camp?
Like, how would you call it?
Van camp.
Yeah, like
yeah,
RV
yeah.
camp. RV.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Sorry,
sure.
my pronunciation.
No, I should know. B's are V's, V's are B's. I'm in Mexico. I got to speak your language, bro.
No, I love it, man. I love this type of stuff.
We can talk about band camp later.
Yeah, I wanted to get into that actually.
We should.
Yeah, we should, for sure.
Yeah, so we were using this thing called Hip Camp, which you rent like someone's like, you know, maybe it's a farm. It's like people camp. You can go camp on the thing, and it's like $10 or some shit. It's actually dope.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, you know, expensive in some crazy, you know, dome or something.
Is it scary? Cool. Is it scary? Because that's I mean, to be honest, that sounds a bit creepy to me. Not like, because I'm used to American movies. I was invaded by all these American movies when I was like a youngster. So my idea of doing something like that always involves, it's a silly way to say it, but always involves like some type of horror movie.
Yeah, dude. It's not it's real out there, dude. It's real out there. And sometimes you pull up to somebody and they're a weird fucking farmer in Kansas or something, and they're like, yeah, the camp's just over there. And you're like, all right, cool. Like, and then you're just sitting in your tent and you're like, oh fuck, like this fucker is gonna come and like, you know.
Yeah, I've been there, brother. I've been there. I'm being kind of silly, but at the same time, I kind of been there, like going into like a gas station stop and going to the store, and the guy like.
No, it's a lot of that. Yeah, there's a lot of that. But, you know, more or less as someone who's just like, hey, how you doing? All right, yeah, over there. Over there's just go park by the pond and just post up. We'll bring you coffee in the morning. And we're like, hell yeah. And then Noah puts on the Grateful Dead and shit, and we light a fire, and you know, we're fucking like, we're really out there, dude. But the thing that really sticks in my mind about that cruise across to New York and back to New Mexico is we were it's like some Jack Kerouac bullshit, you know. We're like sitting there by our fire, by the fire, 80 miles outside of Chicago. Noah's playing like Dark Star by the Grateful Dead on like his phone or something, and we can hear, it's fucked up, we could hear like the riots and shit, and like
shit.
Yeah, we could hear it. So it was like, I was like, am I in like, you know, it was like some 60s Jack Kerouac like jerk off fantasy, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It was just like surreal. It was like, man, wow. But yeah, for the most part, it was just like weird farmers. And one time there was a kid. It's funny that you mentioned horror. There was a little child that was living in the house of the property we were sitting on and sleeping on, and he was like a 5-year-old kid, obsessed with horror. Like he was on some sort of, you know, he was a special child. He knew so many details about horror movies. Like I've never, like this kid's like 5, like he can barely talk. And I told him that I was in Goosebumps, and and then he was obsessed with me. He was just like completely obsessed with me. Wouldn't leave me alone. We got invited to their fire and we were chilling with them. And this little kid was like bringing out all his horror masks, and like, so it was scary in a different way. It was like kind of like a scary child, but no, he was like super cute. And like, I don't know if he would ever see this, I would never want him to think that I thought he was scary or anything.
No, but it's just,
great dude.
It's something that you don't expect. And I think that's the beauty of traveling. Either it can be in the States, in the middle of New Mexico, or it can be somewhere in, I don't know, in Indonesia or even in Mexico, you know? it's you take a chance by traveling, and sometimes you get great stories.
I mean, in my experience, that's usually like 90% of the time. Like if you just take a chance, take a little, I don't know, do something different, and then it's gonna be pretty dope.
Right, man. So then you were before we started recording, you said that you have like a New Mexico story.
I think what I meant was about going to live there and like.
Okay.
There's, I don't think there's one specific New Mexico story that I can.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing is just completely.
The whole thing is just it's a fucking weird dream.
So I'm curious, like what was, if you could describe us, what was like one day in New Mexico? Like, did you wake up and started just doing music all the time?
Actually, like I did, like usually like I'm pretty routine based, and I'll like, get up, eat this, exercise or something, and then like get to my music, do it hard, and then kind of like same. Excuse me. But in New Mexico, for some reason, I couldn't get on like that routine wave, I couldn't do it. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like the mountain power magic, or the desert making you nuts or something like that. But like, so I don't know, my typical day was, I don't even remember making that much music there, but I wrote like, I had a lot to record when I got to LA. So apparently I did, but yeah, it was like an average day. It was just, I don't know, get up and like, we were there as kind of a collective. So somebody would make breakfast or something. Like we were kind of all sharing everything as well, like sharing all the food, which was the first time in my life that I'd done something like that, which was like,
wow.
Yeah, which worked out like for the most part. It was like success.
Wow, interesting.
Successful human experiment.
Maybe I was thinking maybe when you moved there, and it was, I'm not gonna say harder, but maybe you didn't write much music because somehow you wanted to rest, because I mean you've been playing music for a long time, right? So maybe just going there subconsciously, you were like, okay, maybe this a time that I'm gonna allow myself to rest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, when you're saying it right now, it makes a lot of sense, and I think that's probably what happened. Like maybe like I think a lot of people, a lot of artists, maybe even still, like it's like this like kind of collective, like COVID has just been this kind of collective thing where you kind of have to take a step back and like reevaluate shit, so, and that's a type of a rest, I suppose. And like, yeah, I think that's possibly what I was doing. I was going pretty hard, and like I have a tendency not to stop. So right. This was kind of a forced stop, and like there was a lot of stuff going on in the world, like not just COVID, but the protests and stuff, and like there was a lot to like take in, and like we're all sensitive people, so like you take it in your own way, and like it definitely affects your flow, your daily energy, and yeah, so I think that's possibly what it was. I found weird times to do it. We built out a studio in one of the buildings around the Earthship, and but yeah, it was like a weird flow for me creatively that wasn't so like regimented, which was cool. It was a bit more like an abstract routine, which was worked as well.
Yeah, I mean something different. You came from like one of the biggest cities in the world, New York City, and then you move into something isolated, right? Did it ever feel like that, where you felt like you were isolated from the world, and then you moved to LA and everything boom in LA?
I think maybe like on a level where it was like a little smaller because of COVID, like everyone is still isolated, even if you go to LA, when I was there, which was like December to like February or November to February, you're still isolated because you still can't really do shit. But it definitely felt different. Like when we came from touring and like, and then planted ourselves in like this mellow place. And we with the same people every single day for quite a long time. It definitely at some point started to feel like, whoa, it's just like same thing, same. But like, I don't know. I think that's what everyone experienced to some extent, no matter where they were. Just like this,
right.
like the stop of all the stop of everything. Even if you were in New York, I imagine like everyone I know were just like, I'm sure you were too, just sitting in your apartment doing nothing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, especially in a city like New York, where you're always, like we talked before, you're always moving. There's always movement. So I came to realize that a lot of people did not know how to be with themselves, and this situation made them confront themselves, and that can be hard, man. You know.
Yeah, I think therapists made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I think drug dealers made a shitload of money.
Oh man, for sure.
Because you know that the people who weren't, constructively confronting themselves, maybe were getting fucked up. You know what I mean? So I know some people who made a lot of money, but I also know therapists that made a lot of money. Mine. Yeah, I mean, I took the time to I took the time to go inside and work on myself more. I was seeing a therapist and shit like that before this, and it's always been really helpful to me and blessed me in a lot of ways. And I've tried to spread that to my homies and shit, and just be like, yo, dude, like, you ever consider talking about that? Not just to like your homies or whatever. Right. And like, yeah, so it's been like a cool thing to see that shit spread as well amongst a bunch of my friends.
No, that's awesome. And I mean,
during this time,
if I were in New Mexico, I would definitely, I mean, myself, I would use something like mushrooms as my own therapist. I mean, you're there, right?
We did, yeah.
And I may or may not have taken peyote in the desert. So I kind of understand that feeling of being in the desert and being like, this sounds hippie, but being connected to the universe, right? And feel maybe what you're saying, like, okay, I'm connected here, and I feel this more in touch with nature and with people. I don't know if you felt like that, man. But it's such a good feeling. It's
yeah, I think I've heard a lot of, my friend was like, my other friend's like, Ben's a hippie now, yo. Ben's a hippie now. Like, he's out there like living some crazy shit. He's a hippie, bro. I was like, I'm still the same guy, but yeah, maybe I'm a little bit more like out there, but I'm just in like the desert or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I felt very connected to nature, very connected to the universe, and also aliens. There's some alien action out there. And
okay, can
I'll tell you one alien experience that I had.
Yes, please, I love that shit.
And I mean, it was a space experience. It wasn't an alien experience. It could have been an alien experience. It was a space experience. So this is what happened. I'll try and make this short because I have a tendency to
don't worry, man.
Long stories, and like,
I love it.
Find it annoying when other people do that. Also, let me know if I'm interrupting you ever. I hate being an interrupter and when anyways. Okay.
Just be you. That's all that matters. Just be yourself.
You rock. Okay. So we're out there one night. It's like 8 o'clock. Sun's going down. Beautiful sunset in New Mexico. And me and a friend of mine were chilling there. And like, he's telling me a story about some First Nations ceremony that he had been to, a funeral.
Wow.
And talking about how an elder there had just got hit by lightning. And so as he was telling me the story about this person who just got hit by lightning, and he said the word boom, he goes, hey, boom, in the story, what looked like a big kind of fireball, like Roman candle, like, firework thing, like buzzed right over our heads, just like literally like 10 feet above my head. It was just like, and we were like, what the fuck? Like, but like, I didn't, you immediately think it's a firework because you're accustomed to those more than
right
aliens or space fireballs. So we like looked over to like, there was like kind of a neighboring Hispanic community over yonder. And I was like, are they shooting fireworks at us? And like, but they were way too far for any fireworks to like come over. So we kind of looked at each other. We're like, what the fuck was that, man? So like, I think it was a meteor, but I forgot a very important detail.
Okay.
The meteor was going directly for our pyramid.
No shit.
Why?
Do you think maybe because I mean the idea is that pyramids or one theory has it that the pyramids were made by either aliens or were just they were made by technology that was created by aliens. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the alien was trying to connect to a pyramid. Well, even though this pyramid wasn't made by the ancient civilizations, maybe the alien was trying to get in touch with the pyramid, got confused or something.
Yeah, or like I actually ordered a book that never came because we lived where we lived, but it was called like I don't know, the pyramids, whatever. It was like a cool cover. So I thought it was also some like, some fucking magnetic shit that we can't understand. I don't know anything about pyramids. I'm sure there's people out there who are like, know what's up about pyramids. I should know more because I had one. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. That was kind of what blew our mind. We were like, why did whatever that space fireball, why was it going directly for our pyramid and not like for our house or like for the community next door?
Right. And what is your conclusion? What do you think
I haven't made a conclusion. I really haven't. I have to. I feel that the answer will come to me, but it hasn't come to me yet.
And how far is this place from Roswell?
Like 450 miles, maybe 400 miles.
I don't know in miles.
I think that could be a bad guess. Let me see. Taos to Roswell.
Right, because I mean,
it's 4 hours.
It's not that far. I mean,
4 hours and 20 minutes, bro. 420. Oh shit!
Holy shit!
It's about to happen now. 4 hours and 20 minutes. Cool. We're doing it.
Just give me a second, if you don't mind. I forgot. I wasn't prepared, and I apologize.
Dude, it's all good.
I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. That was a good segue into weed.
Sorry?
It was a good segue into weed.
Yeah, man, I love it.
Couldn't have planned that better, man. Hell yeah. Yeah, the weed in Mexico is pretty dope.
For sure is, man. Sorry, I will edit that out, but I wasn't ready. But now that we're talking,
leave it in. It's funny.
Yeah, okay, I'll leave it in.
Is that hand sanitizer in your fireplace?
No. Which one? This
there.
One here?
No, that white thing. Oh, it's like an air freshener or something.
Oh, it's an air freshener. Yeah, and it doesn't work. Like this stuff, it's not. It's just for appearance. I wish it worked.
Beautiful, just some beautiful Mexican design.
Yeah, man. I mean, Oaxaca.
I like that. Ooh,
Oaxaca is awesome. And have you heard about the shamans in Oaxaca, like the mushroom shamans?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go in the rain. I'm gonna go when it rains because I heard that's when all the mushrooms grow and shit.
Okay, let me know. I've never been to Oaxaca, and
Yeah, dude, come. You want to come? Come in like July or August, when it's raining. We'll go up there and fucking. I'd love to do it with a Mexican person because my Spanish is shit, and if we go up there and like do some personal journeys,
right,
it'd be cool to have you there.
No, for sure, man. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Hell yeah, that'd be dope.
I've never been to Oaxaca. Like I said, I went to to the desert, and it was a fascinating experience because you really do connect with nature. And it was a bit weird at the end because I was still like out there, but I could hear the coyotes, I guess, barking or howling. Oh man, that was really scary because they had like this peculiar howling, like it felt like they were mocking me, like they were laughing at me, like I'm gonna eat you, or we're gonna eat you.
Yeah, that's some
Yeah,
fire peyote, bro.
yeah. But then
Peyote.
the other thing is that I could hear the snakes rattle, and I'm scared of snakes, bro.
I'm not scared of snakes, and I never saw one, so
No,
I never heard one either.
Oh man, and you don't want to hear them when you're on peyote. Let me tell you.
Hearing a rattlesnake on peyote, man, yeah, that's a gift from God, bro.
Okay, man. So well, I think we digress a little bit. That's okay. That's life. We digress and then we are back on the road. So okay, so you're in New Mexico and then you moved to LA. Was that change? Was it hard to adapt to LA? Because I mean, by isolated, I didn't, just to clarify, I didn't mean COVID isolated, but just to be in the middle of the desert for like 2 or 3 months, there's some sort of isolation from the outside. It's not like in LA, you still go outside and you see a big building or see houses, you know?
Yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a completely the opposite vibe, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think most people will have a hard time like adapting to LA in general. Not to say I don't like LA, I love LA, but um, yeah, it's cool. I love California.
Okay.
I love the beach. I love the beach. Um, but yeah, when we got to LA, it was kind of like more like, all right, let's get to work. You know what I mean? Because like I was like,
Okay.
all right, I can like I'm in a city now. I can kind of get a bit more on a schedule and shit. So I went back into that mode. I also was like making a new record. So I was able to like actually, be productive in a musical way
Right.
like that. Whereas when we were out in Taos, it was more just like the creative time of like, going to the river, enjoying the sun and like writing a song like whenever you want, stuff like that. Whereas like once we got to LA, it was like, okay, we got the tracks.
Hmm.
Homies flew down from Canada, the Young Guv band, like
Oh,
who
cool.
wasn't, yeah, they all
Interesting.
came down they traveled before the Canadian travel restrictions. We were able to like make a record. And it was great. We had this house that a friend of ours who I had done some work with in music before, he owns like quite a big company. And I asked him if I knew that there was a company house. And I was like, hey, is that house open? Like, what's up? And he was cool enough to be like, yeah, it's open and you guys can stay there. So we
Wow.
stayed. We,
Amazing.
we had still have to pay for it, but it wasn't like the cost of what it normally would be. It was like the COVID price, it was like
Right.
pandemic price.
So,
So we chilled there and it was dope. We had a pool and shit. And it was crazy.
wow, it feels like maybe New Mexico for you was, like I said, like a way to rest and write music, and then you came to LA refreshed, right? It feels like that, like refreshed, like okay, let's do this. I have this album, this music, and let's just put it into work, right? Was that recording process easy in now that you were in LA?
Yeah, I mean, I will say like LA, like it's a lot of driving for me. That's why I was kind of like, shit talking it with my face before. But I love LA and I've always loved making music there. Like it's
Hmm.
fucking like I've made no warning music there in my life and like lived there for, 2, 3 months. And then I was back and I'd always wanted to make a record in like a house and like, with a band, with like my band, like
Okay.
kind of like a cliche rock and roll, like dream type shit. So I'd
That's
always
cool,
had that.
man. I think
It
all
was
people
fucking
want
cool
to
as
do
hell.
that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
want
it's
to do
cool.
that.
And I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to do that. And like, but that being said, we didn't record the whole thing in the house. We wrote a lot of the music in the house. And this is like the full Young Guv band: Tommy, Maddie, Tony, fucking Ryan. And our drummer couldn't make it because he was far away. So we had a new homie called Richard come through and
LA guy?
yeah, LA guy, best drummer, one of the best drummers ever. Yeah, we were blessed through another friend of ours, Sam Veldy. He hooked it up with Richard, and Richard just happened to be one of the best drummers ever. Absolutely. Wow. He's so good, and he's such a dope guy. He's actually coming to Oaxaca to visit and chill. I moved down here with Maddie, who plays in Young Guv as well, plays in No Warning, does his own project called James Matthew 7. So we're both living down here.
Everything stays in the family. I like that.
Yeah, it stays in the family, and like that's what it's always been. But we ended up going to a studio called Jazz Cat Studios in Long Beach, and I love making records in LA. Like just the vibe of LA, like the day and shit, and like it's not like super like boom 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 like fucking New York or some shit. It's
way chiller.
Yeah, it's chiller. I bought a car out there for cheap. Like I found a good deal. Yeah, I found this Oldsmobile Cutlass 92, bro. It was white. Fucking missed that shit. I sold it to my friend before I moved to Mexico. That's a regret. Let's go back to that regret topic that we were talking about before. Where I said I didn't have any. I have one.
Maybe can you buy it back from your friend?
I could probably convince him, maybe one day. Or I'll just be like, hey man, if you ever want to get rid of that car, I'll come get it. Okay. Then I'll drive it to wherever the fuck I live. No, I probably wouldn't do that. Anyways, making a record in LA, I just like, it's classic, it's beautiful. It's like, the food is great. And like, you're just like, you're vibing hard. So we were all vibing hard and like making the best out of like, I also thought it was like, okay, I think this would be good for us to like, for people to come down, get together. Everyone's been fucking, besides us, most of my friends have been alone for fucking this whole thing. We were lucky enough to create this little COVID collective and live in this communal way in this beautiful place. But a lot of other friends were like, they were fucked. And like, so we were like, dude, like, let's fucking get it. Like, come down. And they were like, should we? Like, fuck. One of my other homies couldn't do it. Jesse, who plays in No Warning, usually plays on the Young Guv stuff, but he was like, I can't make it happen because of COVID. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, which blessed us because we got Richard. Yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm kind of high.
But... Just recording in LA.
Oh yeah,
it feels
recording in LA. It's dope.
And I don't think there's no other place to do what you did with the recording in the house and making an album in the house. I think LA has like that vibe, like, oh, we're in LA and we're making an album in a house. That kind of feels like some Guns N' Roses shit or
yeah, it's like the band or some shit, man. Like it's the band. It's like it's like that's what it's like fucking Laurel Canyon, dude. Shit like that. But we recorded most of it at Jazz Cat, and another homie who plays in Brian Jonestown Massacre called Rob, who's dope. But then I did all the vocals and a lot of the writing was actually in the LA house. A lot of the last minute writing for the record. It's another long one.
Wow. So I was listening to Young 1 and 2, but I also was listening to, and I forgot, I don't know the name, Too Sad to Funk.
Mm-hmm. How do you say that in Spanish?
Estoy muy triste para fonquear.
Dos triste, dos funk.
Yeah, but the thing is that I'm too sad to funk it doesn't really translate like that in Spanish. Like you have to say, I am too sad to funk. So in Spanish would be like if you say it in English, like your title, Too Sad to Funk. It's like, okay, I understand it. But in Spanish, you have to say, I am too sad to funk. Yo estoy muy triste para fonquear.
Estoy muy triste para fonquear.
Yes.
Estoy muy triste para funkear.
Yeah, funkear. Yeah, the thing is that funk it's
Doesn't
not
really have
a
the
verb.
same ring to it, does it?
No. And that's the thing, man. There's some things in English and in Spanish as well, but it doesn't quite translate correctly. Like in Spanish, you say when you are talking to a friend, you say a huevo. Like, have you heard that? A huevo.
Yeah,
A huevo is like fuck yeah. But in English, you cannot say it's an egg.
Well, you could.
Well, yeah, I guess you could, but it won't make any sense. People would be offended.
I might start saying that. Yeah, people will get offended by saying, it's an egg.
Yeah.
It's an egg. And they'd be like, that's not an egg. How dare you? How dare you assume?
Exactly. Oh, man. So, oh, yeah, my question is, you have two completely different albums. Do you do this, of course, by choice, but is it something that comes naturally, or is it something that you're always trying? I don't know how can I explain this. Is this something that you're always thinking about? Okay, I want to make my album different. I want to take this album in a different sound, or is that something that just comes naturally?
Yeah, I think it's less calculated for sure. It's more like, all right, I want to do, or no, maybe it's something they'll do that's like, I just made like a fucking rock record that's like 20 songs. Maybe I should just mix it up and like do something else because I just did that for this long and I'm kind of sick of it or some shit, you know, because I like to do a few things and I like to like, you know, fuck with my computer a little bit more and make like, you know, beats with drum machines and shit like that. But I've been less inclined as I've, you know, been doing more of the guitar kind of rock stuff, and like I've been less inclined to do the like poppy drum machine stuff. I don't know why. It doesn't feel as satisfying. Maybe because I'm all alone doing it. Right. Whereas like when I'm doing the really collective, collaborative Young Guv music, it feels better. It's
for more, sure. There's more, I guess, creation input and more connection, right? Like it's more, like you said, it's more collective. And when you do something more, not all the time, but it feels like you each complement each other, right? Like whether it's a band or society or something. Do you remember what was like the first song that you wrote that connected with people? Like, okay, I have this, life? Yeah. Like, okay, I'm playing this live and okay, I can see, did that make sense?
In my life in general.
Yeah. Like the first
song.
Yeah, like that you wrote and you were like, okay, people I think are connecting with this somehow, like without expecting it, or is that a too basic question?
No, it makes sense. I'm just trying to think. You mean when I like went out into the world and like people knew my stuff, or like when I like performed it live and saw people like maybe digging the stuff?
Yeah, I mean, okay, let me rephrase that. Maybe like the first song that I'm gonna change the question. Like the first song that you were proud of, like, okay, this I'm like 100% sure this is a song now and I'm ready to put it out there.
I think it was my first pop punk band, and it like kind of resonated within the neighborhood and kind of the friend group, a little beyond the friend group. It was like, what's the song name? And it was like kind of a shitty pop punk song about my friend's girlfriend, just like a silly song about her or whatever. It wasn't like mean or anything like that. It was just like she liked it and stuff. It was just like, let's write a song about our friend's girl, like this kind of shit.
I know,
you know, that kind of vibe.
That's awesome.
I can't remember what it's called.
But
damn.
But writing this, it probably gave you like some sort of assurance of, okay, I can do this, right? Like, okay, I can write music.
Yeah, it was like very small. It was like, you know, a very small thing, and like I could see that it was like genuinely like enjoyed, and like it was like a vibe, you know. And then I was like, cool, let me write a few more.
That's awesome. So before I let you go, man, I want to ask this because I'm really interested in like the creative process, and especially someone like yourself that has been making music for a long time and different types of music. How do you know when a song is ready? Like I said before, but I
Ready to what?
to yeah, to be shown to the world, to be shared to the world, if that makes sense. Share.
I guess it has to have a bomb ass mix. It's got to be mixed fucking real nice.
So it's even after it's been recorded. It's not only the song, but it has to be well mixed.
Yeah, to me, it has to sound a way. You know, like if it's a good song, you could fuck it up by recording it bad, you know, or you could
Interesting.
fuck it up by like, because there's many different versions of many great songs. You know what I mean? And some of those are shit. Some of those are amazing. So it's like it has to be all the way to the very end. And it has to be like, this sounds great, you know, mixed well, which is it's just a mixed thing to me.
Right.
I guess there's. Wait, what's the question again?
Yeah, like
Sorry.
no, that's
Oh,
fine.
yeah.
When it's ready, yeah.
Yeah. When is it ready? I guess, yeah, just like a bunch of stuff needs to click. It needs to be, because sometimes it has a good mix. Maybe you realize, oh, after a certain period of time, you're like, sorry, there's a bunch of flies and shit around me. Sometimes when there's a good mix on something, you'll listen to it after a while and be like, song sucks. Like, that's not getting out there, you know? So it's not just the mix, it's a bunch of stuff. It has to stand a bunch of tests, you know, different states of consciousness for sure, or different states of mind, sorry.
Right.
I don't know. You know, you just know when it's ready. You just know.
Yeah, it's more like a feeling, right? Not that I want to sound like Whitesnake or some shit like that, but there is a like Whitesnake song, right? It's more than a feeling.
Is that Whitesnake?
No, I don't know.
I think it's Boston. I think it's
Or
Boston. Yeah, it's Boston. I was like, damn, he's talking about Whitesnake. Hell yeah. Yeah, Boston's not as cool. Yeah, it's more of a feeling.
Wow,
It's
interesting.
more of a feeling because it's like, you know, like I'm mixing other bands' records while I'm in Oaxaca that I'm friends with, and I'm also mixing new Young Guv stuff remotely. So, you know, I'm in the mixing world right now. My head, that's all I do right now. Yeah, it's just got to be right. It's just got to be like, it can be shit, but just it could have a shit vibe, but you know, but that's the right vibe.
So now let me ask you this. When you get very excited about mixing another band and you're like, oh, fuck yeah, I got it. This is the right mix for this song for blah, blah, blah band. And they listen to it. I'm like, I don't like it. How does that feel?
Oh, well, luckily the things that I've been mixing recently, I know these artists and bands quite well, that so it hasn't happened in a while. But usually people don't say like, I don't like it. There's been a couple times, I guess, where someone's like, you know, I went with something else or some shit like that, and you're like, okay. I've done it myself, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I've been the artist too, being like, hey, this mastering job is not good, and I'm going with someone else because like this is not what I thought. And it's like it's a delicate scenario because that person's put in a bunch of work, so you got to work out the money at that point, maybe half the fee or some shit. That's what I would do. But yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you this.
I gotta go to the bathroom real quick.
Yes, for sure, man.
So,
oh yeah, we were talking about, or we were about to
Spotify.
talk about like Spotify and Bandcamp. And let me ask you this: what do you think would be like the ideal way for artists to stream their music and get a good living doing that? What would Spotify would have to do, Bandcamp, or
Pay us. Simple as that. The technology is there. We're all down with it. We all like it. We all love it. We all use it. It's very convenient.
right.
It's brilliant, whatever. But the people who are running the show, Spotify, who are controlling everything, are not paying musicians. They pay out to like the top like 4% of earner of, if you have a certain amount of hits on Spotify, like Drake, you're earning a good share of royalties. Whereas an artist like myself or someone else, we're making like 0.001 cent per stream. And it has destroyed the chances of a musician to make a living wage. It has completely decimated the chance, which is horrible.
For sure.
It's a horribly unfair thing for a music company to do. Right. So I'm glad we're talking about it. If people have gotten this far in the podcast, and some people aren't aware of this, they're like, oh, this is great. Like I pay $9.99 a month, and like, you don't think about it, and you just have this amazing thing that is with you all day long, makes you feel better and shit, and like, like creates all types of positive vibes in your life. But like the fact is that thing that you're supporting is destroying our lives, our chance at making a living. So, do what you want with that information. If it's new to you, if it's not, then maybe just have it in your mind, because one day, hopefully, we have no real union to support us to fight. There's no lawyers out there taking a stance, and like, labels have been sketchy since time. So, they've been in on this as well. They don't have the artist's best interest at all. No, so, run for cover is pretty cool, and let me do stuff on Bandcamp only. So, I can't like do everything on Bandcamp only. I have to take part in this like streaming environment in a way, like I'm not like, I don't have, maybe I won't, maybe I'll completely stop. I don't know. I haven't like, it's a very confusing road we're on right now. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. It's the same with the rest of the world, like all these, like a lot of shit, it's in not to talk about COVID again, but like, a lot of these companies just decimating shit, just boom, here's our chance. Okay. It's like small businesses be gone. No. And it's just, I'm pretty punishing, I guess, on social media about it. Like I post about it a lot, but it's something I feel strongly about. I've been doing this for a long time, and there's ways of us getting paid, whereas all these motherfucking billionaire dudes, don't get the lion's share. It's like, just make it more even.
Right. It's man.
Let us have a cut.
For sure. For sure, man. It's really weird to see that the guy, like the CEO of Spotify, is earning more money selling products that he did not create. It's so strange, man. Like I bet he doesn't know how to play any instruments, how to create a song, but then he's earning a lot of money. It's so strange, man. Do you think we have passed the line or the threshold of going back, or do you think we're like, is there a way to fix this?
I hope so. I hope at some point, Spotify is just tech, right? So it could have been Tweezer or fucking Tidal or like, whatever, one of those companies. It could have been another one that got really popular. Spotify just happened to be the best tech. So I guess it was the most user savvy, and that's why it's the most popular one. And maybe at some point it won't be. Culture has a way of like, taking out the trash and shit, or just like, maybe it won't be cool one day and like something else will be cool, and hopefully that will be more fair, or it will be attacked right away. You know, we've been on this Spotify shit for a long time. You know, we've been plugged into Spotify and paying our subscriptions for years now. So it's hard for us to stop and get away from this shit, get away from this fucking Swedish clown, you know, who's like just killing everyone. I don't know. Maybe one day a proper union will be formed, and there will be a law passed to say you can't stream an artist's music without paying them X amount. That's not this just amount they made up. They didn't ask us if it was okay. They made that number up to benefit themselves. To what? Run a fucking app? How much money you fucking need, bro?
Yeah, man.
What do you need all this shit for? To get richer? Like, you're a demon. You're a fucking diabolical, like fucking supervillain out of a comic. You're a fucking loser.
Yes.
I mean,
no, I agree with you, man. I mean, it's like I said before, it's really weird, and I don't know what would be the right way to handle this, but I do feel that it's really important to put at least a message out there for normal folks. And by normal folks, I mean like people that maybe are not music people, as in they go and look for new music or anything, that they just pay Spotify to have something without commercials. But they are not aware of this. And I think they should be aware of this, because at the end of the day, it's art, and art is what makes a society to be more creative and to flourish, you know?
Yeah. It saves people's lives, you know, it gets people through the day, and like people should be compensated for it, just like someone should be compensated for, you know, doing the various jobs in this world that get compensated for. We're not compensated like that. And I think to end, like, to answer your question again, like, I think maybe like if, like you said, like if people are more conscious of it, there's more of a collective thought behind it. Eventually, maybe a bunch more musicians who are big and famous or whatever, you know, would actually take a stance, which is funny because you don't see a lot of artists at like a certain level, because maybe they're banking off this shit, but they're not standing up. They're not voicing their opinion. Like, you know, I think if you're in a band, if you're an artist, if you're a musician, and you're not talking about this on your platforms, you're not talking about this to your fans and letting them know, hey, just so you know, you don't have to stop using it, but this shit's fucking everyone up. Maybe just support us in other ways, buy all our merch, you know, come to our shows, and, you know, or just try other ways of like supporting us. Or like if we were to do an alternative way of releasing it that's not Spotify, say maybe Bandcamp, which is like the only alternative at this moment, which is kind of annoying too, because I don't know, maybe there'll be some tech that comes out. That's probably what'll happen. Some new tech will come out. It'll be more convenient, better, and maybe it'll be even more unfair and we'll be even more fucked. Who knows? The way things are going is probably what's gonna happen.
No, but I agree, man. I think it's, like I said before, I think it's important for people to listen to this, because, okay, you want to do the Spotify thing, okay, do that, but also go to see your friend's show, to go and see that band when it comes to your town, to buy their merch, you know, to buy their special edition LP, because
buy the vinyl.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, Ben, I mean, it's been really interesting talking to you. You're a cool, interesting guy, man. Thank you so much for
likewise
my call. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, just what's up to Mexico, and muchas gracias, bro. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here in Mexico. It's been blessing my life. And yeah, come down in the fall and we'll do some mushrooms in the rain in the mountains.
I'm down. So
really weird.
Before we finish, what are your social media handles and all that for people to reach out?
I'm at Young Guv. I learned that at school, so I had to drop that. I'm at Young Guv on Instagram and Twitter. I guess that's
okay.
That's the way. I don't know. Fucking social media.
For the longest time, I thought Gov stood for government. So I'm like, oh, young government. But then I think I heard you with Vicious at Vicious show, and it's governor. Young
A what
Guv.
show?
Bish,
show?
Bish,
Oh,
Bish
Bish,
Canal.
Bish.
Bish, yeah, I know
Nice,
Bish.
nice.
If
Yeah,
you're
yeah, Young
listening, shout
Guv.
out to Bish. But so it's
Shout out to Bish.
Young Governor, right?
Young Governor, but I
Yeah, I like
that
it.
still sounds like that still sounds like government. So I was like, Young Gov's better. But then people think I'm a rapper because it sounds like a rapper's name. So
Okay.
I'm fucked either way.
Yeah. Have you thought about doing a rap album just to let these guys know you're done with the rap?
Nah, it's not. I don't really have fucking. I don't have no bars, bro.
Yeah,
I got no bars, man.
It's
I can't do it.
it's
My
hard
bars
to.
are my bars only extend to hardcore. I got some hardcore bars, but I can't rap.
Yeah, rap is something else. That's a different game.
I can make a beat sometimes, but can't rap.
That's awesome, brother. Just give me a second.